guys, we have another fun craft today. We're going to be making felt cacti, so you'll need the template. You can find the link to that down in the description. You'll need some green felt. You'll need some green embroidery floss, some embroidery needles, some wooden flower pots, some terracotta colored paint. I mixed my own, a paintbrush, some Spanish moss, hot glue gun, some hot glue, some artificial flowers, some fiber fill, and some scissors. Alright, let's get that cleaned up, and one last thing, you'll need a glue stick. So I'm going to start with the flower pots since we have to paint them, and we'll have to have time for them to dry. Once we've painted all three and done 2 coats of paint on each one, it's time to move on while we let those dry. So I've got my template printed out, like I said, it's in the description, and we're just gonna cut this out. Alright, so they're all cut out, and now we just need to use them as a guide to cut out the felt. Okay, and they're all cut out. So I think I'm going to start with the one armed cactus, so let's clean up all these other pieces, and let's get started. So now we need the embroidery floss and the embroidery needle. And this is where the glue stick comes in handy, so that we can thread the embroidery floss through the needle. So you just want to put a little bit of glue on the end, flatten it between your fingers, and then it should thread a lot easier. So then you want to take the 2 ends and tie them in a knot. And now it's time to start sewing these 2 pieces together. Okay, now that we have that all sewn together, it's time to stuff it with the polyfill. So I left a little gap at the top of the arm, and obviously I didn't sew the bottom. I'm just going to use the end of the paintbrush to stuff the polyfill into the cactus. Okay, and once I've put in enough of the fiber fill into the top of the arm, I'm just going to sew that up. Once that's done, we can go back to filling the rest of the cactus. Now it's time to glue the cactus into the little wooden flower pot. So I'm going to start by just gluing the bottom of the cactus. I'm just going to really glob on the glue, and then it should stick to the bottom of the pot, and just hold it in place while the glue sets up a little bit. Now we can glue on our flowers. So I've picked 2 red ones here, and I'm just going to cut off the excess stem and just put a glob of hot glue on that and glue it in the little crevice of the arm. Just pull off any excess hot glue. And the same thing for the second flower. And then just glue it on top. Okay, and to finish it off, I'm going to add some Spanish moss. And no matter what, this stuff seems to make a big mess. Just add some more hot glue. And stuff in the Spanish moss. Then do the same to the other side. Trim off any excess Spanish moss. And this one's done. And that brings us to the twin cactus. The steps are pretty much the same as before, so I'm just going to fast forward to the end where we put the cactus in the little flower pot. First, I'm going to glue the 2 individual cacti together. Then I'm going to glob on the hot glue to the sides and the bottom of the cactus. Now it's time to add the flowers. So I'm gluing a whole flower on the top of the bigger cactus. And I didn't like what I did before on the first one, so I'm going to rip that off and do something else. What I'm actually going to do, since these flowers have these little plastic pieces in the center, I'm going to rip some of those out, glue those on. Then I'm going to take one of the fabric pieces of the flower and cut that up, glue some pieces on to finish it up. So I'll finish this one up with some Spanish moss as well. Same thing as before, we're just gonna add some hot glue and stuff the Spanish moss in the side of the flower pot. Alright, and that brings us to the round cactus. So let's just get all those pieces out for that. This one's a little bit different. You have to sew all the sides together. Okay, once you have the fiber fill stuffed into the bottom of the cactus, it's time to glue on the felt square. So then we're going to glue the cactus into the flower pot. Just going to coat the sides of the flower pot with the hot glue. And then put in the cactus. Luckily no Spanish moss on this one, so the last thing we need is just the flower on top. Alright, that's it for this video. And if you decide to make the cactus on your own, please tag me on Instagram. And I'll see you next week.